Everyone, we are seeing our first race results of the night. Georgia and South Carolina, they're right now too early to call. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NBC News Election Headquarters. Live coverage of Election Night 2020. It is finally here.
Yeah, and polls are already closing around the country. Here's what we're going to be watching tonight. First, it's the fight between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, of course, for those crucial battleground states that will decide this election, including Arizona, Florida, Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
We're tracking each candidate's road to 270 electoral votes. That's the number, of course, needed to win the presidency.
There's another big story tonight. Who will control the United States Senate? A handful of races will determine that question, and we're watching them all. So
polls have just closed in 6 states with 60 electoral votes. Let's get right to it. And you see right now, Georgia, it is too early to call.
Let's go to South Carolina. There's a big Senate race as well as the presidential. Too early to call. We're waiting for vote there. In Indiana, we can make this call, and it's an expected one. The president will easily carry Indiana, the home state of Vice President Mike Pence. And let's look at Virginia. It is too early to call. However, our projection is that it is a Biden lead at this hour.
All right, let's take a look at Kentucky. And Kentucky right now, too early to call. But you see the first numbers we're getting of the night. Vermont is too early to call, and let's look at how all this takes us on that road to 270 right now. And you can see Donald Trump with 11 electoral votes to Biden 0. We've got some numbers coming in. Let's look at the Virginia presidential race, and right now that's too early, but we can report that Biden is leading in Virginia.
Let's look at Georgia. It's a swing state this year. We don't usually say that. It's too early to call, but we're starting to get a few votes in. Let's go to South Carolina. Too early to call there as well.
In Vermont, we can project that Joe Biden is the winner in Vermont.
Coming up 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock in the West, and there are a bunch of polls about to close. 16 states plus Washington, D.C., including a couple of key battlegrounds just a few seconds away. We do have some results in Kentucky. The president is the projected winner. Not a surprise there. Let's go to some other states.
Yeah, Georgia, it's too early to call. North Carolina, too early to call. Ohio, also too early to call.
Now let's look at South Carolina, also too early to call. Big Senate race there going on as well.
All right, and Biden leading in Virginia right now. That's too early to call.
All right, we await those 8 o'clock poll closings.
All right, we've got the 8 o'clock poll closings now. We can look. There is Florida, too close to call. Note 82% expected vote in there. In Pennsylvania, too early to call. No surprise, that one's going to take a while.
Yeah, way too early. New Hampshire, also too early to call. Just a few votes in. In New Jersey, Joe Biden is the projected winner at this hour. And in Maryland, we've got Joe Biden as the projected winner.
NBC projecting Biden the winner in Massachusetts as well. Also in Delaware, Biden wins. Biden also the projected winner in D.C.
All right, and Oklahoma will go for the president. In Illinois, we are calling it too early, but Biden is leading in Illinois. He's led in the polls. Connecticut, same thing. Too early, but Biden is leading.
Here's what's happening in Alabama right now. Too early to call. Too early in Maine as well. Same story in Mississippi, Missouri. Biden leading in Rhode Island, but that one's too early to call. Trump leading in Tennessee.
All right, so where does that put us? We've just made some calls. Here we go. Let's get to the map of 270. That's how you get elected president in this country, as we show Tennessee, but I think we can roll the map. And now we've got a few more numbers to report. Joe Biden, not surprisingly, carrying those big cities in the east, and we see Donald Trump in some of his strong red territory. Chuck, this is unfolding as expected.
Nobody's won a road game yet.
Yeah.
You know, Pat Riley used to say back in those 7-game series, you know, a series doesn't begin until somebody wins a road game. Well, a series doesn't be an election night doesn't begin until we flip a red state blue or a blue state red.
I forget Barack Obama spent a lot of time in Florida here in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, he did. I think a lot of questions are going to be asked, though, to go back to did they hear the calls of Miami-Dade enough? Look, the Biden campaign will get criticized if they're not carrying Georgia or North Carolina. The criticism about their Florida strategy will either amp up or down depending on how well they do in neighboring Georgia and up the coast in North Carolina.
All right, and we just projected Tennessee going to the president. No surprise there. Donald Trump the winner of the 11 electoral votes there.
Let me just pause a second and note that we have this Senate call from Kentucky. Mitch McConnell, the incumbent, will hold on against Amy McGrath.
All right, and we'll also have another call from West Virginia. President Trump will take it as expected.
Back to NBC News 2020 election coverage. We have got another call that's in the state of Connecticut, and when NBC News projects Joe Biden as the winner in Connecticut, not a big surprise there.
Texas, too early to call at this hour. In Arizona, it is also too early to call, as you might expect.
Michigan, too early to call.
Got some results in from Minnesota. Not many, actually. Too early to call there. Wisconsin, it's going to be a long one. And in New York, Biden will pull that one out and not shock anyone.
Colorado, too early, but Biden has a lead there. Kansas, too early. And Louisiana, too early. Biden, though, with a lead.
All right, and let's look at Nebraska. Too early to call there. We're keeping an eye on that one particular congressional district that can be quite competitive. In New Mexico, it is too early to call. In North Dakota, too early to call, but the president is leading.
Same story in South Dakota. The president leading, too early to call. And Wyoming, it's too early to call. Trump with a lead there.
So let's put up our map of 270 and let's see how it shakes out at 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock Pacific. And there you have it. Numbers don't quite tell the story. We're going to have to wait for all the votes to be counted.
Welcome back. We've got a couple of new calls to make in the presidential race in Colorado. Biden is the projected winner. South Dakota, Trump, the projected winner.
Okay, so if you're keeping track at home, that's one apiece. Let's rate
some new calls. Let's look at North Dakota. And President Trump is the projected winner in North Dakota.
In Alabama, President Trump is the winner there. There's also a Senate race going on there. We'll check in with that in a few moments.
And looking at Florida once again, checking in there. It is too close to call, but Trump leads in Florida. And in Texas right now, too early to call.
Welcome back. We got a call. Senator Cory Gardner is going back to Colorado, and former Governor John Hickenlooper, the Democrat, will pick up that seat. So that's one more in the Democrats' column in their race to try to regain control of the United States Senate.
Some Senate calls, or at least some characterizations to show you. South Carolina, this is Lindsey Graham, who's faced an onslaught of money from the Harrison camp, but too early to call. Graham leads right now there.
All right, let's go to Nebraska, where NBC projects Ben Sasse, the incumbent, is headed back to Congress rather handily. We'll also keep an eye on that one congressional district in Nebraska that often flips, and we'll see how that is going in a few moments.
We'll take a break here. Be back with more Decision 2020 election night coverage after this. Pause for a quick break. An update from North Carolina's governor's race. And the incumbent, Cooper, will win. Will continue to be governor.
All right, and in New Mexico, we've got Joe Biden prevailing in that state. It'll pick up New Mexico's 5 electoral votes. We're back right after this.
As we come back from a break, a new call to make. This in the House of Representatives. NBC News projects that Democrats will maintain control of the House of Representatives.
All 435 seats in Congress up for grabs on the House side. And so Nancy Pelosi, Andrea, will remain House Speaker. Welcome back. 10:30 in East, 7:30 out West. Louisiana's votes are in. NBC News is projecting Trump as the winner there. In Kansas, the president holds on and holds the state of Kansas. There's also a Senate race going on there.
In New Hampshire, it looks like Joe Biden will win. We project him as the winner. Florida, in that race, too close. Trump leads, but that race still too close. Watching it very carefully.
Same story in Texas. It's too early to call, but the president does have a lead there, and North Carolina is getting just a little bit more interesting. It is too close to call there, and we've been watching that one real closely tonight.
Ohio would be bonus category, and right now it's too early to call. Too early in the Georgia presidential contest as well.
All right, let's keep it going. Here we go in Virginia. Too early to call, but Vice President Biden does have a lead there. In Wisconsin, we could call it way too early to call. They still are counting votes there.
Pennsylvania, they'll be counting them for a while. Too early in Pennsylvania. Minnesota, which we were discussing a few moments ago, that's too early as well.
All right, let's go to Maine, which divides its electoral votes by congressional district. We're calling that too early to call, but we did see a split decision in 2016 with Donald Trump picking up one electoral vote there. We'll see what happens. And Arizona, too early to call. The vote is coming in fast and furious. Vice President Biden with a lead there in Arizona at this hour.
Let's take a look at Iowa right now. Too early to call. Nevada is too early as well.
All right, Montana, too early to call. We'll keep an eye on that race and hope to give you some Senate races in a moment here as well. And in Utah, as expected, President Trump wins. So that brings us to 270.
So let's add them all up. And here's where they stand right now. Biden leading 98-92 on that road to 270. Okay, Donald Trump, the projected winner in Missouri. That's brand new. Chuck?
One other thing.
Just quickly, I want to go back to the board here because I think we've got a call.
We have another call.
In Illinois here.
Okay.
Joe Biden is the projected winner in Illinois. That's 20 electoral votes in his column. Hello, everyone. We are just back on the air here. We want to show you some Senate numbers right now. And this is starting off the state of Louisiana.
All right. That's Senator Cassidy headed back. And we've got an upset. This was the most vulnerable senator probably in the United States Senate. The Democrat from Alabama, Doug Jones, has lost. Tommy Tuberville, the Auburn coach, takes that race. So that's a gain for the Republicans in the Senate.
Dick Durbin will have another term in Illinois. We project he will win. In Arizona, too early. Mark Kelly, though, leading Martha McSally right now, and this is a race that could be affecting what we're seeing on the presidential side in Arizona.
Let's go to Arkansas. Tom Cotton, the incumbent, headed back. He wins that one. West Virginia, same thing. The incumbent returns. Shelley Moore Capito, easily defeating her opponent there.
All right, and to Georgia, Purdue, too early to call in that race, but this has been a race that certainly has drawn a lot of national attention, as has this one. Lindsey Graham and Jamie Harrison, a lot of money spent in that race, but right now too early to call, but Graham leads.
Same story up in Maine. It's a two-way race right now, essentially, between Senator Collins, the incumbent, and Sarah Gideon, although there are other candidates and they have ranked choice voting. So I'll just cut to the chase. It could be a while in Maine. It's not going to be tonight.
That's what you can say. Not tonight.
Okay, so go Betty bye if you're waiting for Maine. Mississippi Senate is too early to call there. Mike Espy, the congressman, trying to take on the incumbent Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Marshall leading in Kansas right now. That race is too early to call. In Michigan, also too early to call.
That's one that folks had their eyes on, potential Republican pickup. We'll see if that holds. Here's Minnesota. A lot of talk about Minnesota tonight. It is too early to call. Let's go to the Iowa Senate race. Another one where Joni Ernst, the incumbent, looking to hang on against a challenger, Teresa Greenfield. Too early to call there. We'll watch that one.
And here's how the Senate breaks down right now. Dems 41, 40 seats for the Republicans.
All right. This was the one I just assigned to Chuck Todd. Nebraska, projected winner of 3 of 5 electoral votes. Do I have that right?
Got a couple presidential calls to make right now. First, in Mississippi, NBC News projects that Donald Trump will win in the state of Mississippi.
In Wyoming, President Trump takes it, which brings us to the map of 270, the road to 270. It's starting to fill out. We're just a few minutes away for some poll closings in the West and a big call in South Carolina to make.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham is going to hang on. Of course, he got hammered by a lot of spending from outside. Jamie Harrison and the criticism over Senator Graham's positioning on the nomination of a Supreme Court justice during an election year, but he will hang on, the projected winner in South Carolina. Now to that three-way race we were talking about in Georgia. This will advance to a runoff on January 5th.
Hi, everybody. Our election night coverage rolls on. It is 11 o'clock in the east, 8 o'clock in the west, and we have a bunch of results to report to you, including some poll closings. California just closed. Joe Biden, the projected winner there. Out west, Oregon, Joe Biden expected to win handily there. Oregon, 7 electoral votes.
And Biden will sweep the Pacific Coast, as we're projecting that he will win in Washington, the state of Washington as well. Idaho, too early. Trump leads there,
however.
We started the night talking about Florida. We'll start talking about Florida. It is too close to call at this hour, but the president is leading there. Republicans feeling good about that. In Texas, a similar story. It is too early to call, but the president has taken a lead in Texas.
We've been carefully watching North Carolina. That is still too close to call, but you see the numbers on the screen there. Also in Ohio, too early to call.
Let's go to Georgia. Democrats had high hopes here. It's too early to call. We'll see how that one shakes out. We've seen a couple of the Senate races advance to a runoff in January. In Virginia, it's too early to call, but Vice President Biden is leading in that race.
Let's take a look at a pair of the states in that blue wall the Democrats are hoping for. Wisconsin, too early. Pennsylvania, too early as well.
And in Minnesota, where there's been a lot of talk tonight about whether or not this one will flip, right now, too early to call, but you see with the votes in the Vice President Biden with a lead there, and in Maine, where they have a ranked choice voting, so it could be a while. It's too early to call.
Not a whole lot of vote left in Arizona. We're watching that. It is still too early to call. However, Biden is leading in Arizona. Iowa, too early right now. And
let's go out west to Nevada. Too early to call. We'll keep an eye on that one.
As we come up on the midnight hour, a big call now for President Trump in the state of Ohio. NBC News projects that Trump will win Ohio and take its 18 electoral votes. It's a state that Joe Biden thought he might have a chance in. It paid a visit there quite recently. Another call here. You see it on the screen there. Virginia. NBC News projects that Joe Biden will win Virginia's 13 electoral votes.
In Idaho, the president has won Idaho's 4 electoral votes. In Georgia, it's a squeaker. It is too early to call. We await, last check, a lot of votes still coming in the Atlanta suburbs, which could be telling. Let's go to North Carolina. Too close to call. That is also a squeaker, to use the technical term.
Pennsylvania goes without saying at this point. Too early to call there.
Maine is too early to call as well. We'll keep an eye on that one. In Arizona, it is too early to call. However, we are projecting that Joe Biden has a lead there.
Minnesota, it is too early to call. Michigan, too early to call as well.
And let's go to Texas. Too early to call, but the president has jumped out to a lead there in Texas, so we continue to watch that one. In Wisconsin, too early to call. We were just discussing that one with Chuck.
Iowa's too early to call, as is Montana. Nevada, we're just starting to see our first votes coming in from Nevada. That's too early to call. Hawaii.
Nevada was one mentioned by Corey Lewandowski of the Trump campaign as a potential pickup for President Trump. We'll see if that plays out. The polls haven't suggested that. And in Hawaii, too early to call. We just got a poll closed there.
So let's look at where that stands in the race to 270. Joe Biden leading right now, 205 to 136.
We've got a big call to make. It's official now. NBC projects Florida goes to President Donald Trump. We've been watching this all night. We've been very careful, but this is going to go into the Trump column, an absolute must-win for him.
Call in Iowa.
Yes.
NBC News projects that Donald Trump will win the 6 electoral votes in Iowa. Texas, too early to call. Trump leads, however. Whoop, I'm just sorry. In my ear as those words came out of my mouth. Trump now is the projected winner in Texas. Again, Trump now the projected winner in the state of Texas.
Montana's presidential race, and we're calling it for President Trump. No surprise there. Rhode Island, Chuck scooped us, Lester.
Well, it showed up on, I was about to look for a little
news
while.
now.
Yes, exactly.
We have called this now. It's not registering here, but we have called. Our decision desk says Joe Biden's going to win this electoral vote. Which we
call in Minnesota. NBC News projects that Joe Biden will win the state of Minnesota 10 electoral votes.
At this hour at 4:36 Eastern Time out in Hawaii, NBC News can project Joe Biden is the winner of Hawaii's 4 electoral votes. Not a big surprise, but that's a projection we can make at this hour.
Where I want to look, the big one is, I believe we just called a state that we've been waiting on calling, and that is the state of Maine. And that would be 3 of the 4, I believe, because right now we know that the president is winning that 2nd congressional district here. So
let's put it up here. I think NBC News is now projecting Joe Biden is the apparent winner in the state of Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes. That was an important prize in the Democrats' blue wall. So again, NBC News projecting that Joe Biden, the apparent winner of Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes. Peter Alexander, let's send it over to you.
Let me just interrupt you just for a moment, Pete. Stay with us. Michigan on your screen right now. This is a very big call that we are now ready to make. NBC News Decision Desk projecting the winner of Michigan, Biden, Vice President Biden, with 49.8% of the vote to 48.6% for President Trump. Again, that is a key call that we've been waiting hours and hours for since last night.
Today, Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie in New York, the moment the entire country has been waiting for after a very close race. NBC News now projects that Joe Biden has won the Keystone State, Pennsylvania, and its 20 electoral votes.
And that means we can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden has been elected President of the United States. He is President-elect Joseph Robinette Biden at 77 years old. Chuck, we'll turn to you. This map is a real interesting one, not necessarily the path that anyone thought would have unfolded, but here we are.
Here we are. Look, we got just enough vote in order to call Pennsylvania, even if it may slip into a recount. We think there's just the mathematically nearly impossible for the order of finish to change in Pennsylvania. And when you look at it in many ways, Joe Biden won with a somewhat traditional map in the Midwest. He rebuilt the blue wall, and narrowly, but he did it. He added 2 sort of expansion states, it looks like, potentially, when all's said and done, with Arizona and Georgia. But the fact is, he did it without it. And it proved that 4 years ago, the biggest important lesson from this election is that 2016 was not an outlier. This is essentially the 2016 election with the Gary Johnson vote going to Joe Biden. And here we are.
NBC News is now projecting Joe Biden as the winner of Nevada. 6 electoral votes in Nevada. The electoral vote victory by Joe Biden continues to increase at this hour. NBC News projecting Joe Biden, the winner of Nevada's 6 electoral votes.
Breaking news. As we have been speaking, NBC News has projected President Trump as the winner of the state of Alaska, a state that was still counting ballots. Republican Senator Dan Sullivan also held on to his Senate seat there.
Breaking news overnight, NBC News projecting Joe Biden wins Arizona. Biden flips the state that hadn't voted for a Democrat since 1996 for president. At the same time, that state, the home of Barry Goldwater and John McCain, now has 2 Democratic U.S. senators. With his win, President-elect Joe Biden adds 11 more electoral votes to his total, bringing him currently to 290. North Carolina and Georgia are now the only states left. Both races still deemed too close to call. Just over 14,000 votes separate Biden and Trump in Georgia, where a statewide hand recount has been ordered. But most likely North Carolina will go to Trump, Georgia to Biden.
NBC News is now ready to make a couple calls. Let's start with the first. In the state of Georgia, where there's currently a hand recount being done, Joe Biden is the apparent winner. Again, Joe Biden, the apparent winner in Georgia. We use the word apparent when results could change, such as in a recount, although it's not expected that Donald Trump is going to make up that deficit in Georgia. Also, in the state of North Carolina, another state that we had been waiting on, we can now say that Donald Trump is the winner of North Carolina, the projected winner of North Carolina. This gives Donald Trump 15 electoral votes. But Joe Biden is still well in the lead in the Electoral College and is now president-elect and has been so since Pennsylvania was called. Biden with 306 electoral votes, Donald Trump with 232. If everything remains as it is right now, that will be the outcome of the election, 306 to 232. Joe Biden taking over the Sun Belt, Arizona, and getting Georgia. Quite a remarkable thing for a Democrat.